Good afternoon, everyone. Please be aware that we have 10 minutes until the programming begins. Thank you.
I sit here in this misery, I don't know, Lord, see the sun from here. Knows I fade away. They'll all look at me and say, and they'll say, hey, look at him, I'll never live that way. And that's okay.
seats. Thank you. ready to begin the program, if you could please find your way to your seats. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 RQ Foundation Annual Fundraising Event. My name is Emily Parkins. I work with the RQ Foundation, and I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here today in support of the RQ Foundation and collegiate sports officials. I especially want to thank our sponsors, all of our sponsors here today, but our presenting sponsor, the RCX Sports Foundation, our panel sponsors, the NCAA, Tito's Handmade Vodka, and WeatherGuard, and our featured sponsor, Viribus Wealth Management. Your sponsorships, your funds help us fund our initiatives for the RQ Foundation, and I want to take a few minutes to tell you about some of those initiatives, especially as you consider making a donation today or supporting our silent auction. We want you to know and understand where those funds are going. This past year, well, for the last couple years, we have provided general liability, professional liability, and accident medical insurance to every single official that registers on our platform. In 2021, this number was around 22% of officials, and now we're proud to say that 100% of the officials have this insurance. So really proud of our efforts to protect sports officials. In 2024, we provided funding for a number of beneficiaries, a lot of those being collegiate sports officiating organizations, as well as collegiate sports conferences to support their officials on the field in the work that they're doing. Early in 2025, we earmarked up to $20,000 in natural disaster relief for officials residing in Florida, North Carolina, and California to assist them in replenishing maybe some of the gear that they lost as a result of these natural disasters and help them get back to the field or the court as quickly as possible. We have a commissioner that very unfortunately is battling stage 4 cancer right now, and this commissioner has been a tremendous advocate of college sports officiating. The officials in his conference, he's supported them, he's defended them, he's ensured that they've been paid in a timely manner. So the RQ Foundation is providing financial support to him as he battles this diagnosis. So we're really proud to support the people that support officiating. We also are looking to implement an officiating experience survey that will be tied to every single assignment in the RQ platform. So where officials receive their game assignments, they will be able to go in after their assignments and provide feedback about their experience on campus. You know, did they have parking that was in close proximity to the venue? Were they treated well? Were they provided with a private changing facility? You know, really simple things, but that doesn't always happen. And what we will do is provide that feedback to conference offices so that they can help their campuses be in a good position to support officials. The final thing I want to touch on, a big focus for us in 2025, will be women in officiating. We have nearly 30,000 registered officials across 15 sports on our platform, and less than 15% of those, or less than 4,500, are women. And in a sport like softball, there are less than 8% of the officials. We have less than 200 female collegiate softball officials supporting a sport that is competed by women. So we are really excited to focus on recruiting women into the officiating profession. We look forward to implementing recruiting efforts that directly target former and current student athletes to help build that up. Again, not just in sports like softball, but in all sports. So we're really passionate about that and look forward to continuing our efforts to support collegiate sports officials. And again, really proud of the work of the foundation so far and what's to come. So please think about some of those things. You know, you're here, you must be a sports fan, and officials are integral to competition at some of the highest levels. So again, we appreciate your support. We ask that you consider making a donation to the foundation or participating in the silent auction. And with that, please turn your attention to the video board for the introduction of our MC.
Emmy Award winner and Evansville native Anthony Calhoun leads the most dynamic TV sports team in Indiana as sports director and main anchor at Wish TV. In addition to his daily reporting and anchoring, AC hosts several highly rated shows, including Sports Locker. During football season, you can also catch AC on the Emmy Award-winning Countdown to Kickoff Colts pregame show on Sunday mornings. AC has also served as a play-by-play announcer for NCAA basketball on ESPN, as well as the voice of Butler basketball on WNDY TV. AC is a graduate of Syracuse University, where he received his Bachelor of Science degree in broadcast journalism. AC has also been recognized as one of the most influential people in Indianapolis.
Please welcome to the stage Anthony Calhoun.
Thank you, Emily. Appreciate that. Man, I feel like I'm at the Oscars. How about that video? My goodness. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Good. Well, it is great to be with you guys. This is actually my third event this week that I've emceed, so I've been really busy. But I was looking forward to this one when the week started, because knowing my heart for sports, knowing my guy, Bo, love helping him out, and just knowing their mission and what they're doing and the difference they're making and just trying to improve the game on all levels. And so it is great to be with you all. We got a great conversations coming your way throughout these three panels here, so take notes. Sit back, relax, enjoy yourself, because it's going to be a good time here this afternoon. Before we get started, though, we got to recognize some incredible folks and organizations. First up, let's give a round of applause. RCX Sports Foundation, our presenting sponsor. Come on, let them hear you. In case you may not know, the RCX Sports Foundation, they work to develop and promote and implement diversity and inclusion in youth sports as the nonprofit arm of RCX Sports. Now, the foundation focuses on expanding youth sports opportunities so all children can experience athletics in a safe, welcoming, and inclusive environment. Thank you, RCX Sports Foundation, for your support of the 2025 RQ Foundation fundraiser. One more time, a round of applause for RCX Sports Foundation. The next company we want to recognize is our panel sponsor for the Pro Sports panel sponsor that you're going to hear moments from now. And I'm familiar with this company because it seems like they are always giving back to our community. I'm talking about the good folks from Tito's Handmade Vodka. Yep. Tito's handmade vodkas, they have this mission here, Love Tito's program has a goal of, and this is pretty cool, turning spirits into love and goodness, and does so by joining forces with nonprofits to host events, participate in service projects, and give back to their communities in meaningful ways. And they really do. And I'll just say, they support my charity golf outing time and time again. They're always trying to help in any way they can. Tito paved the way in the early days by donating his vodka to local nonprofits events. Now, Tito's continues, of course, to empower their employees and customers and fans to make the world a better place through its Love Tito's. So once again, thank you to Tito's for your support on this panel here this afternoon. Thank you so much. All right, so we are ready to go. First up, as I mentioned, is the pro sports panelists. So if you can, take a look at the video board.
Please welcome to the stage our panelists for the Pro Sports Panel. Brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka. Please. First, Stephanie White. Set to begin her second stint as head coach of the Indiana Fever, Stephanie White's 13-year coaching career is punctuated by her 2023 WNBA Coach of the Year award with the Connecticut Sun, a 2012 WNBA championship as Fever assistant head coach, and a 5-year tenure as the head coach at Vanderbilt University. White also played 4 seasons with the Fever after being selected by the Charlotte Sting in the 1999 WNBA draft, which was preceded by her stellar playing career at Purdue University. As a senior, White led the Boilermakers to the 1999 NCAA Division I National Championship while claiming the Wade Trophy for National Player of the Year and consensus All-American honors. Next, Jack Doyle. A 2008 graduate and 2-time state champion at Cathedral High School, Jack Doyle went on to play 9 seasons as a tight end for his hometown Indianapolis Colts, highlighted by 2 Pro Bowl appearances in 2017 and 2019. Doyle helped carry the mail for the 2017 Colts, leading the team with a career-high 80 receptions, which also ranked second among NFL tight ends. Doyle played 4 years at Western Kentucky, where he was a 3-time captain and 2-time All-Sun Belt Conference selection. As a senior, he led the Hilltoppers in both receptions and receiving yards, leading to his inclusion as a semifinalist for the Mackey Award, given to the nation's top tight end.
All right. Let's give it up for Stephanie and for Jack as well. Man, we are in for a treat. We are in for a treat today. Great seeing you guys. I go back, man, I'm kind of feeling old here, but I actually covered you guys. Collegiate, of course, professional years as well. Speaking of professional, you just got out of practice here. Are we getting ready for the Fever this year, everybody?
That's
fired
right.
up?
That's
so
right.
You just literally left practice, day 1 of practice, right?
Day 1 of training camp, yes. Came straight from the gym. Took a little bit of time to fix my hair, but yeah, made it over. It was a good day.
Yeah, you got to feel good about it. I mean, I know there's a lot of excitement about this year's team, but you got to feel good about where your team is and the opportunity for you to coach this team.
Really do. You know, I think you look at this group that we have and the job that Kelly and Amber did in the offseason of adding some seasoned veterans and the right veterans to this group that could address some needs, and then adding quality depth. And you know, the opportunity I think that we have in front of us is really exciting. You know, we got to take it one day at a time. Got to stack our days, no doubt about it. But a lot of excitement, and for good reason. I mean, great human beings, incredibly hard workers. Being in the gym is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love it. And so we're coming off the NFL draft, and Chris Ballard, the Colts general manager, he said, we're looking for a tight end that can be just as good as Jack Doyle, and I think we're going to be okay if we can find that tight end. And they got a guy named Tyler Warren. Now, how do you feel about this draft pick? And give me your take on this tight end here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a little biased, and I think you can't have enough tight ends, right? You can't draft enough, but it was so cool to just see him. You know, Tyler Warren, it just kind of fell to him, right? It just all kind of worked out. Didn't have to do anything crazy to get the guy. I think everyone in this city, I know that, and I'm pretty sure the guy that Chris wanted going into it. So yeah, I think he's going to be a stud, man. He can do it all. He can, you know, I'm biased towards you. I think you got to be able to block to be out there. You know, that's how you earn the respect of your teammates. He seems like a guy who can do that. You know, he could. I think anyone who watched college football this year got to see the things he did. You know, lining up all over the place and even playing some quarterback. They never let me do that. So let's see if they let him do that here. But no, I'm super excited. Obviously, it's fun to just, you know, obviously grew up as a fan, you know, as the Colts, played for the Colts, and now I need to go back to being a fan, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so Steph, I want to ask you this because women's basketball now, college basketball, professional basketball, is at an all-time high. Take us through that and just we know someone who plays for you had a little bit to do with that, but how exciting is it for women's basketball right now with the game?
It's really exciting. You know, I'm not sure what took us so long, but, you know, really when you think back to, and I've been around this league now for 25 years, and when this league started, and we knew that it was a league that these women deserved to be in a situation like we're finally in right now. It took a long time. That's sort of the natural progression of professional sports. But we were hard to find for a long time. And I think through a lot of diligent work by people who laid the foundation before games were being televised, right? Before you knew who your local stars were in college sports, in high school sports, that laid the foundation for us to be where we are. And this is really the first time that I have been around the game where we're merging college fans with WNBA fans. There had been a divide for so long. It's like once these players graduated college, they went on to the pros and everybody returned to their daily college fandom and didn't follow them. And of course with generational talent like Caitlin Clark, and you see this fan base and this fandom come to the WNBA and take it to another level. You know, I think some of it started as well in the bubble. You know, we were all sitting at home during the pandemic, couldn't go anywhere in the summertime. Having the WNBA in the summer is very difficult at times. So there's a lot of things to do, but you're sitting at home and we're watching the bubble and the wubble. And we see a lot of first-time fans get engaged with women's basketball and the WNBA, and they've stayed on board. And so we're very fortunate I'm fortunate that I'm still around while this is going on right now and excited about not just where we are, but where we're going.
It's been exciting to watch last year and looking forward again this year. Jack, you talked about, you know, pretty much your football career. A lot of it had to do with this city right here in Indianapolis. What was it like for you getting a chance to, you know, to play professionally here in your hometown?
Yeah, you know, it was something, I think I answered this question probably to you and to everybody else, but, you know, I tried not to think about it while I was playing, right? You know, it was focused on a job and focused on being the best player, best teammate I could be. But now reflecting back on it being done, I mean, what a blessing it was. You know, a lot of things had to kind of go my way, and you know, and I worked hard to get the things I got. But you know, you could be anywhere, right? You could end up anywhere. So it was just great, you know, especially when we started having, you know, me and my wife Casey started having kids. It was nice to have babysitters, you know, everywhere that you know, family members that you can trust, and you know, having grandparents, and you know, I got 3 sisters. You know, it was. That was probably, honestly, the biggest perk. But, you know, how cool, you know, who didn't grow up here? You know, I was born in 90, but to grow up here in the 90s and 2000s and not be a huge Colts fan, like,
something
I mean,
they
were rolling. And that was another thing. I got such an appreciation for how spoiled we were in the 2000s. 12 games, winning 12 games every year. You know, I got to see it playing. Like, that's so hard to do. So it gave me a new appreciation for what those, you know, the Peyton Manning, Reggie Wayne, you know, all those guys did.
I love it. So, as I try to bring it up a little bit, you got somebody named Caitlin Clark that plays on your team. Give it up for Caitlin Clark. We know that, right? And we know, I mean, I know you get these questions all the time, Caitlin Clark, but as a coach, how do you manage all that, knowing that she is so good on the court, but you know at the end of the day, it does take a full team to try to win a WNBA championship?
Yeah, you know, I think one of the things we addressed in our first team meeting a couple days ago was, like, this roster is, like I said, I've been 25 years associated with the WNBA. This is the most talented team I've ever been around. The deepest team
I've ever been around. That is, wow.
And I think for somebody like Caitlin, for her as well, like, she's playing with the most talented roster she's ever played with. You know, last year was probably the most talented roster she'd ever played with at that time. And so, you know, for us as coaches, putting all of them in position to be successful, putting them in position to where they don't feel like they have to make the play as opposed to making the right play. Caitlin is a willing passer, as those of you who have watched her have seen, and now she's got a lot more targets, right? And so it's building chemistry, building our rotations, taking some pressure off of her to feel like she has to always make the play, the big play. And then at the end of the day, it's building trust. And I often tell this story of our what was it, 2012 we won the WNBA championship? Yep. I often tell this story about 2012 because obviously Tamika Catchings, the greatest player to wear a Fever jersey, was at the height of her career in 2012. And I came on board in 2011 as an assistant coach. And I remember having multiple conversations with Catch in that the day we win the championship is the day that you're not afraid to make the extra pass for somebody to make the big shot, right? And we were in game 1 at Minnesota. And Katie Douglas had been hurt, and Jeanette Poland was in the corner. And it was a big momentum-changing play in the fourth quarter. I think we were in the last 3 minutes. And the ball came to Catch on the wing, and she made the extra pass to JP in the corner, and JP made the shot. And I was like, we're going to win this damn thing. Right? Like, it was that moment, that it's like you have to trust someone else to be able to make the shot. And we're going to have that this year. And I think it's going to be refreshing for Caitlin.
I love it. So, Jack, you've had, during your time with the Colts, you've had your share of just a couple of quarterbacks, a couple of different coordinators. For the folks here and the folks online watching as well, what was that like? I mean, how did you navigate through all those changes from a different QB, different coordinator at times? We know athletes deal with this. The coaches have to deal with change. In life, we deal with changes as well. But how did you get through that?
Yeah, you're right. There was a lot of different quarterbacks, and with that comes a lot of different personalities from those quarterbacks. But I think, to me, that's what makes me love football the most. No offense to basketball or anything, but I love football so much because it takes so many different types of people and come from all different backgrounds and walks of life to make a team work, right? And I think, obviously the quarterback and, coaches, the offense coordinator, there's a lot of changes, but that's what football is. It's about working with others, and some went smoother than others, and I think that's more on the team, not just on that guy coming in. It's the ultimate team sport, and it was tough at times, but I was lucky to play with, a lot of really good quarterbacks and a lot of good coordinators. Nick Sirianni, he was so much fun to play for, so it's fun to see him, Super Bowl champion now and see his success. And then you go from him to a Marcus Brady, who's more of a quiet, reserved coordinator. It was just different, but, we made it work. And it was a lot of fun. And you try not to compare one quarterback to the other. You just try to find their strengths and how you can help them.
Most people can look at this as a dream, because I love what you said about how this is the most talent you've been around in your 25 years plus been around the league. As a coach, how do you keep everybody happy with all that talent?
Well, I don't think you can. I think when you have a group like this, you lean into building the culture of selflessness, right? You lean into choosing the we over the me. You lean into what makes great championship teams successful, and what's the rhetoric, especially afterward when you're reflecting on what is the rhetoric around those teams. It's about sacrifice, right? It's about staying ready. It's about being a star in your role. It's about playing outside of your comfort zone, right? It's about, not allowing the outside noise to get into your inner circle, right? Silencing the noise, playing in layers, protecting one another, protecting your locker room. It's all of those connectedness. I am a firm believer that connected teams are winning teams. Talent isn't enough. Our daily disciplines have to be the fuel that feeds us and how we build our confidence every single day. Consistency is king, as those of us know, and for us, we just have to continue to build on that one day at a time. We've got a lot of great talent, and I know everybody expects us to win the championship in May, and that ain't gonna happen, right? That ain't gonna happen. We've got to be able to put it together. We got to be able to build our rotations, and we have to continue to reinforce that we are going to be better collectively when we choose the we over the me. And so there are going to be days where people deserve to play that aren't going to play. And that's just part of professional sports, right? And continuing to pour into them, continuing to challenge them, continuing to be transparent in our communication and honest about it, I think is going to be key.
That's great. Jack, what was the toughest part about playing in the NFL? Because people can talk about just how physical it is. Was it the playbook? Your mindset going in every Sunday? Take us through that. What was it like?
Yeah, well, Coach White's got me ready to play the way she's talking up here right now.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But, yeah, there's so many different challenges, right? For me, and I think kind of how I just mentioned, everyone comes from different walks of life, different parts of the country, different backgrounds, raised a certain way. And again, which makes me love sports, makes me love football so much. But so I think some guys, maybe it's mentally, maybe it's trying to learn the playbook or things like that, and then maybe some guys it's physically. They got to work harder at getting their body right. Maybe they deal with injuries more or things like that. And for me, it was probably more of physically trying to stay healthy and staying out there for my teammates. That's what I hung my hat on. I wanted to always be, your best ability is your availability, right? You got to be out there.
Yeah, be out there. Yeah.
That's a Coach Dungy quote, that I've heard. And your best ability is your availability. So I just always tried to be available, and that's what maybe I went too crazy with it sometimes and trying to be ready and couldn't separate, work from home life and would bring my work home. And those are things, I don't want to say regret, but things I probably could have done better, right? And so yeah, that's what I would say was my challenge. But I think every person, every player has different challenges. And it's all about, who they are and what makes them them.
All right, so you got to be real with us. Take us through a game where you give us your hardest hit that you had to deal with.
I get asked this a lot. All right, who hit you the hardest?
Who knocked you out?
And I'll tell you who hit me the hardest is the ground. The ground does not move. It wasn't so much when the guy hits you. I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of hurt. But then we hit the ground, and then it's like, oh man, that hurt. But yeah, there's nothing worse than getting, I don't want to use the term. You're not supposed to use the old bell rung term anymore, right? With all the emphasis on the head injuries. But yeah, there's times when you take an early hit, maybe your quarterback laid you out a little bit and then you got to grind through a game that makes it tough. But your adrenaline's going, you don't really feel it till, Monday, Tuesday morning, really, to be honest. You kind of just keep rolling and yeah, maybe that's crazy or whatever, but it was fun.
But that's what he did, though, right? He kept. We know that, right? As Colts fans, you know that you were it was like Jackson, get up, he'll be fine, and you did that. And we admire that about you, though, man, because I think it said a lot about you and your teammates as well. How much they knew that you were always all in every game. All right, so we got to talk officiating a little bit, all right?
Oh, no.
I know. I'm sorry. So you coach at Vanderbilt, the collegiate level, now the professional level as well. What is the difference, when you're dealing with officiating from those two levels, would you say?
Well, it's interesting with us in the WNBA as we still really try to grow the number of officials that we have in our league, because some of them still do both. And it's especially in May and June, the transition is tough. The game is faster. The players are more athletic. The rules are different. The points of emphasis are different. They're able to do more things. And sometimes you see that kind of lag along. And we see this in players, too. Players who don't go play in the offseason, because we have a long offseason. Players who don't go play in the offseason, they come back in training camp, and they're not as sharp as they need to be, right? Like there's no substitute for playing the game. And so it takes them a few weeks to really get into the rhythm and the timing of the game. And it's the same thing for officiating, right? It's so much different. It's so much faster, and the anticipation and the movements and all the things are different. So, for me, I understand how complex officiating is. Doesn't mean I like it. Right, but you understand how complex it is, and also because I do the broadcasting and I'm always get the benefit of multiple replays.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, thank you for that. I really do try to have a lot of grace and understand, how difficult it is to make that decision in the moment. Doesn't mean that I won't yell, right? Doesn't mean that I'm not gonna. That's kind of part of the job. And sometimes I do it just so our players won't. But it's a different game. It's a different game, and I think you guys see it. Players, even young players, they're better than they've ever been. They're more athletic than they've ever been. They're more versatile than they've ever been. There's more players in motion than we've ever seen, and it's really, really difficult.
As an NFL player, when you played, what was it like for you in your interactions with the officials?
Yeah, you know, you don't interact with them a ton while you're playing, but I've come to realize, you know, being dumb, how tough of a job it is, right? I mean, it's got to be so hard. And I think basketball is even harder than football. You know, people are on top of you, the crowd's on top of you. With football, they're kind of out there by themselves. You know, they're dealing with the coaches a little bit, but you can kind of run away and, you know, be the back judge, right, and be way away from everybody. But no, you know, I probably had my moments, you know. It was always the holding calls for me. Like, these D linemen now, I mean, they're flopping, right? You know, they're on the backside of a play. I had one in that. I don't even want to bring up the game because
go ahead and bring it up.
No, it was my last game. It was terrible. We lost in Jacksonville. Yeah. We were like 14 point. What was it? 14 point.
Yeah,
everyone.
We know
2021.
that.
Yeah. To go to the playoffs.
Yeah. Didn't think that would happen at all.
I was blocking Josh Allen, who's a really good player, DN for the Jaguars. Not Josh Allen, quarterback for the Bills. The DN, who's really good. I think he's a Kentucky guy. And, you know, we probably were handing the ball to Jonathan that year was, I think he almost had 2,000 yards. So we were probably handing the ball off to Jonathan, if I'm assuming right. And, you know, he's running outside. I'm on the backside of the play. I got my hands inside, you know, good technique, using my footwork. And Josh Allen's is just, like, doing this with his arms, like, not even trying to make the play. And they get, you know, penalty, you know, holding. 84, backside, not even near the play. That's one I still... and I'm still mad at that game in general, so maybe I just need to blame somebody. But I get it's a hard job. I'm just, you know, that's one. That's one I have to. I still wake up in the middle of the night thinking about. But
really?
It probably didn't change the game in any way because that game was bad.
No, I remember talking about it. No, I'm joking. We didn't talk on the TV.
Yeah, no, but what a tough job. You know, I mean, it's. Everything's like Coach White was saying, everything's moving so fast. Like, I can't imagine trying to do it myself when, you know, you're sitting on the couch looking at all the replays. It's very, you know, not even then it's hard to know which way to call it, right? So what a tough gig.
I don't know why anybody'd sign up for that job. Right? Like, I don't know why anybody'd sign up for that job.
And, you know, you speaking of replays, I do want to ask you this because with the WNBA, how much does that change the game now, having that opportunity to review those plays? And it seems like it takes forever for them to review these things, but at the end of the day, you want to get it right?
It's better than all of the other reviews. Like, you know, now we get to choose which ones we actually do. You know, it is a game changer in a sense that you get an opportunity, especially, you know, in certain points in the game to get it right. It's challenging, though, because there are so many factors that come into it. You know, the software, and the hardware that you have to use behind the bench, the guys who have to tell you to challenge it or not challenge it. You know, in the W, it's not quite as fast or as accurate or have as many camera angles as we'd like to have, so that we can make sure that we're challenging it on the right play.
Right,
because we don't have all of the camera angles that they would have in an NBA game, right? So, and not all. Fortunately for us, we have a lot of nationally televised games, but that doesn't mean that we're going to have the whole complement of camera packages. And so that is a challenge for us too. Okay. And so if it's close, and you know, you always see players like, don't come to me with this, because if it's not close, like I'm not like, I'll complain for you, but I'm not challenging it because I'm not 100% sold. Right. And to Jack's point, like, these guys are really good at flopping. Like, all players are really good at flopping, right? And we see it from a different perspective, but it is a game changer. It is a game changer. You know, we want to have, in the W, we don't have the replay center. So it's just the crew that's on site that's going through and watching it and trying to decide if it's, you know, if they'll overrule it or not. But it certainly is.
But it's huge, though. I mean,
it's huge. And for us to be able to figure out the right times to use it is still a work in progress.
Yeah. You know, Stephanie was talking about, we talked about Caitlin and just how, what I love about, hey, it's all about trust. Everyone on the team, you got to trust everyone to make the play. We didn't make it. As a football player, you know, 11 guys out there on the field, how big was that? You know the quarterback, they do what they do. You talk about Jonathan Taylor, running back, but how much is stress, and how important is the stress that, hey, it's all 11 guys involved with you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, speaking from the offensive side of the ball, you know, it's like everyone, you know, we're trusting everyone to do their job. The guy next to you, you know, all 11 of us out there. And sometimes we're doing all that for 4 yards, right? We're not blocking the safety who's rolling down because, you know, we don't have a guy for him, you know, because the quarterback's handing the ball off, right? So we're one short. And you do that for 4 yards, right? And that's like sometimes that's like, yeah, man, that was an awesome play. And sometimes maybe the regular fan doesn't see it that way or things like that. But trust is huge, right? I mean, coach to player, player to player, you know, it's what makes a team, right? If you can trust each other, if you can, you know, instill that in each other in the practice, in the work, in the off season leading up to it, you know, there's nothing more important in sports, in my opinion. You got to be able to trust your teammate. And that's how, you know, she's talking about Tamika making an extra pass. That's trust, right? That's all it is. It's trust in your teammate, and that's built through work, the day in, day out work. And yeah, that's again, speaking of football, that just what I love about football so much is it takes so many different guys to make 4 yards, right? I think that's a really cool thing about it.
Before we wrap things up, all three of us up here, we know how blessed we are to do what we do. We love what we do. And I want to finish with you guys. I'll ask you this question here. Stephanie, I'll start first with you. What do you appreciate most about the opportunity that you have right in front of you right now?
Man, I feel like I've never worked a day in my life, you guys. It's incredible to think that this sport, like this kid's game, right, has given me the opportunity to travel the world, to meet so many incredible people. You know, my teammates are my sisters for life. The relationships that you build, the players that I've been able to be a part of, their lives and continue to be a part of. I mean, this is just like the ultimate kid's dream. You know, oftentimes you talk about when you're a kid, you dream about shooting that last shot that wins the game. And yeah, you win, but at the end of the day, the win's not the journey, right? It's these relationships and the abilities for us to be able to feel like we're not working a day in our lives. And yes, it's stressful, and yes, it has its moments, but I wouldn't rather be doing anything else than to be in the gym with these women, helping them be the best that they can be every single day.
That's great. Jack, you know, dream come true, chance to play in your hometown. As you reflect and just, you know, the opportunities you've had and just what you're still able to do in this community, how great has it been?
Yeah, it's been a dream come true, right? I mean, as Coach White just said, it's like you dream of, you know, the last second play or whatever it is, and then you realize once you're in it, no, it's not the last, it's the 5 minutes in the locker room after the game, right? That's what I miss now. You know, that's what that's what you worked all week for, right? Is those moments with your teammate, with your teammates, and it's the people, right? I mean, you know, my phone was buzzing right now. I got a group of guys that's texting, you know, about funny stuff that used to happen, you know, 5-10 years ago, and that's what it's about. They're brothers for life, and yeah, you miss them, and you know, when you're in it, you don't realize how much you're leaning on them day in, day out. But yeah, it's a dream come true to play for your hometown team, and it's still I still don't really, you know, to tell the 12-year-old self me, you know, this is what it's going to be. It's like, I'm living it, and that's crazy, you know, when I really stop and you know, count my blessings.
That's great. Is that great, everybody? Before we wrap things up, I forgot to mention this, but these two right here, they are just class acts all the way to the top on how they carry themselves, athletes, coaching now, and just family man, just wonderful individuals. And so we have been truly fortunate, everybody, and blessed today to hear from these two right here. Stephanie White, Jack Doyle, thank you for taking the time.
Thanks, Stacey.
We'll be rooting for the Fever, right? We'll be rooting for them. And Jack, we'll be rooting for you as well, man. All the stuff that you're doing outside of football as well. Thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it. I know, Steph, you got to get out of here. You got another speaking deal. One more time, a round of applause for Stephanie White, Jack Doyle. Okay. And we appreciate all your insight, and I love their appreciation for the officials. Even though, you know, they're coaching, they were playing, they had the utmost respect for the folks making those calls on the field and on the court as well. That was one thing I recall, and also just about what Stephanie's about, just the trust. You know, we got some coaches in here as well, we got some athletes in here. Just the fact, you know, you got to trust your teammates, you got to trust your players in big moments, and so I would definitely put that in my pocket, and I hope you would do the same thing too when you leave here later today. All right, so one more time, a round of applause to Tito's for our sponsorship here with this panel. We want to remind you guys as well The sign auction, it is still open, so make sure you check that out. Do not forget about the sign auction. We're going to take about a 13-minute break, and then we come back after that. We'll do our college panel. So take about a 13-minute break. But, hey, real quick, wasn't that good stuff? Wasn't that good? I mean, that was great, right? All right, we got more to come in the next session.
Intentions fall to the floor. The angel closes her eyes. The confusion that was hers belongs now to the baby down the hall.
just a heads up, everybody, we're going to start things up in about 3 minutes. So 3 minutes, please make your way back to the tables, and we'll get things going for the second panel. We can cut the music, please. We're getting ready to start, so make your way to your seats, everybody. And we'll continue on here for our college sports panel. Before we do that, I'd like to bring to the stage right now Danielle Harris, RQ Foundation board member. Let's welcome her to the stage, everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be here today to speak about something that doesn't get a lot of attention, the importance of officiating. If COVID taught us nothing, it showed us that having participants, teams, officials, and an official scorekeeper were absolutely necessary for an athletic contest. Without them, the game simply wouldn't happen. We can't overstate how necessary it is to keep the spotlight on officiating and to have organizations that are actively working to address the real challenges our profession faces today. It's easy to recognize that there are issues: recruiting, training, retention. But what's harder is finding people and organizations willing to commit to solving them. That's why the work of the RQ Foundation is so critical. While many people are willing to have the conversation, very few are willing to take action. The RQ Foundation stands apart because they aren't just talking, they're committed. They have a real interest in creating measurable, lasting results for officials at every level. We're helping to continue the momentum that has been built by the NCAA's leadership, progress that has been made, but there's so much more we can do. And thanks to organizations like the RQ Foundation, we're moving in the right direction. Finally, I want to take a moment to recognize all of you. Your commitment to officiating, whether you're on the field, supporting the officials behind the scenes, or help to grow the next generation, is what makes it all possible. Thank you for the role you play in keeping our games fair, safe, and true to the spirit of competition. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Time now for our our college sports panel. And before we start things off, we want to give a round of applause to the NCAA because they are the presenting sponsor for this segment here, the college sports panel. So let's round of applause to the NCAA, right back in their own backyard. Of course, we're all familiar with the NCAA. Of course, the National Collegiate Athletic Association is a member-led organization dedicated to the well-being and lifelong success of college athletes. The NCAA, of course, recognizes the importance of officiating to the competition and the student-athlete experience. The NCAA is dedicated to partnering with other organizations in the recruitment, retention, education, and training spaces, as well as improving the sporting behavior of the game, environment, and in college sports. So a round of applause. Thank you so much, the NCAA, for all you do and your impact here in the city of Indianapolis as well. Okay, need everybody to look at the big board behind me or the screen here, and we're going to meet our next guests here on the panel.
Please welcome to the stage our panelists for the College Sports Panel. Brought to you by the NCAA. First, Scott Dolson. Now in his 5th year as Vice President and Director of Intercollegiate Athletics at his alma mater, Indiana University, Scott Dolson has led IU athletics through a remarkable era of accomplishments. 4 IU programs claimed Big Ten championships in 2023 and 24, the university's highest total in 32 years, and the second most in the Big Ten. Dolson's leadership has also produced record-setting attendance at events, as the men's and women's basketball teams hosted 472,132 combined fans in 2023 and 24, the most of any school in the country. Dolson is also responsible for IU's highly successful Women's Excellence Initiative, a fundraising effort that has raised more than $8.5 million to date, more than 8 times the initial goal. Next, Dan Gavitt. Dan Gavitt has devoted most of his professional life to the game of basketball, including the past 13 years spent as NCAA Senior Vice President of Basketball. In his current role, Gavitt oversees the Divisions 1, 2, and 3 men's and women's basketball championships, as well as the NIT and WBIT. He also manages the NCAA Championships broadcast partner relationships with CBS Sports, TNT Sports, and ESPN, and the NCAA Corporate Champion and Partner Program. Gavitt also serves as a liaison to the Division I Men's Basketball Committee and the Men's Basketball Oversight Committee. Previously, Gavitt served as Big East Conference Associate Commissioner of Men's Basketball for 7 years, with additional stints as Bryant University Director of Athletics and Recreation and Assistant Basketball Coach at Providence College. And finally, Pat Knight. Fresh off his first season as the head men's basketball coach at Marian University in Indianapolis, Pat Knight has nearly 30 years of basketball coaching and scouting experience at the collegiate and professional levels. Prior to Marian, Knight spent 10 years as a scout for the Indiana Pacers and an additional 7 seasons as head coach at Texas Tech University and Lamar University. Knight succeeded his father, the legendary Bob Knight, at Texas Tech, where he led the Red Raiders to 3 double-digit win seasons from 2008 to 2011. In 2011 and 12, his first seasons at Lamar, Knight helped clinch the Cardinals' first trip to the NCAA tournament in more than a decade, backed by a 23-12 record and a Southland Conference tournament championship.
Only one guy could pull this off, our guy Bo, to get these 3 together with their schedules. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, guys, thank y'all for taking the time to talk to us. Let me start here with you. You've been not too busy lately, right? Not a lot going on in Bloomington. Congratulations finding the guys you wanted to lead your basketball program. Take us through that and just how excited you have Coach DeVries guide the Hoosiers here.
Thanks, AC. It's great to be here. Thanks to Bo for asking us. And it's great to be with Dan. I've known Dan forever. He does a phenomenal job at the NCAA. And then Pat, I was a freshman basketball manager when Pat was in 7th or 8th grade. We roomed together on road trips and did a lot of studying together. I was his tutor as well. We didn't cause any trouble on those road trips, but we had a lot of fun. But it's great. It's so great to have Pat back in Indiana. Yeah. But as you said, AC, it's been a busy spring. Couldn't be more excited about Coach DeVries. And honestly, it's a lot like the Coach Sig hire in terms of, it's a little bit of art, a little bit of science. The science part is in terms of just his style of play, how he coaches, what's important to him, how he recruits, how he builds a roster. We had a plan that we thought would work for us, and his plan fit our plan. And then the art part, just in terms of how he fits in personality-wise, what we were looking for. It actually reminds me a lot about back when I learned under Coach Knight about how to build a program. And you have to have the art and the science, and we feel really good about where we are. We're excited to have him here.
We got some IU supporters in here, right, in the house? Some IU folks? I know we do. And Dan, man, coming off an incredible NCAA championship down in San Antonio. How about those games, by the way? Ratings were unreal. Over, 19 million tune in throughout that weekend on different days, Saturday, and of course, Monday as well. You got to feel good where college basketball is right now for us. Just the tune in. People want more and more, right?
Yeah, it was March Madness was terrific this year. We're thrilled to have a regional here in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium again, 4 great teams, and then San Antonio, unbelievable games. Just the 3 teams that won all were losing at the under 4 timeout in the second half. Just incredible finishes. But yeah, college basketball is very popular, men's and women's right now, and it's not easy. And we're going to talk about that, I think, a little bit right now with the transfer portal and NIL and some challenges with the roster turnover. But in terms of fans' engagement with the sport, it's at all-time highs.
Pat, I remember when the news was announced, and you got a great president over there at Marian University, that you were coming to town to lead that basketball program. There's never an off day at all for a basketball coach or any coach, but what has it been like for you and just, having that opportunity to try to, make some things happen in a good light when it comes to Marian?
Well, it's just, I was out of it for 10 years, and to me, it's just feeling alive again. And I enjoyed 10 years with the Pacers and scouting and helping put together their teams. But, when my dad passed, we've all gone through it. You lose a parent, you kind of start thinking about life and stuff you really don't think about. And I wasn't really happy with how my career ended, and so I thought maybe I could get back in it and end on my own terms. But it had to be at a smaller school, and it helped. Steve Downing was my dad's first All-American. Being back in Indianapolis and being back in the state of Indiana, and so it all just came together, and I just jumped at it. And I may be dumb for it because I don't know how many people it turned out. I mean, I just signed a 2-year contract with the Pacers and take a huge pay cut, but I have some unfinished business, and I love it. And pass on the things that my dad taught all of us that played for him and worked for him, and so it's been a great year being back.
That's great. How good is that, by the way? That's awesome. Just want to give back and change these kids' lives. All right, so Dan kind of was leading us in this direction because the landscape is changing in collegiate sports, and I want to ask you, and you're living it every day, the NIL. For the folks watching, folks here, take us through that. What is that like? Living in that world, and matter of fact, I interviewed Coach Signetti last week for the spring game, and he was telling me there are literally no off days. You're always working. But take us through it.
Yeah, it's complicated. It really is, because when NIL started, the whole reason it really started was that student athletes were not treated like regular students on campus. They could not earn money like other students could. Back when Pat played, there were limitations. They couldn't run a camp. They couldn't have an endorsement. So when that changed, the whole purpose was to give them the opportunity to just earn money just like other students. And so that's how it started. And we started wanting to be really, really good at that, help our students earn NIL money in terms of making certain we could educate them and how that process could work, make certain we could help them build their brands. But what quickly happened is you can imagine in an industry where recruiting is so massive and player movement that your school needed to really thrive at that. And in the recruiting process, instead of being about playing for a certain coach and the education and all the great things we would sell, Those are still important, but the NIL value started to really become bigger and bigger. And before you know it, schools started, we were one of the early ones that did this, started raising money outside of the department to try to create NIL opportunities, to manufacture them. And so really NIL really became sort of pay for play somewhere early on. And it really became a fundraising contest in a lot of ways. You could raise as much money as possible because in the recruiting process, particularly with men's basketball and football, to survive, you had to have resources. And if we hadn't had that ability to raise the money that we did, Coach Sig, for example, would never have come to Indiana because you couldn't come take a job if you didn't have NIL opportunities for student athletes. And it's slowly just gotten kind of worse and worse. The fundraising would go up higher and higher, the pressure to raise more money. And so we've been able to survive. We've been able to still maintain our balance in terms of we're still education-based. We still talk about all the positive experiences, but we had to be able to survive NIL-wise. What's happening now, you hear a lot about what's called the House settlement. If that gets signed, which we hope it does, then what will happen is that internally we'll be able to revenue share internally. There'll be a cap on it. The cap will be $20.5 million. And I know this gets confusing. It will be buying their internal NIL rights. We can divide that up however we want internally. The majority of that would go to our revenue sports, football and men's basketball. And then NIL is supposed to go back to what it was going to be at the beginning. You hear about the NIL clearinghouse. What that is the NIL then is supposed to be just what the student athlete actually earns on their own. The schools aren't going to be manufacturing, supposedly, that's what it's supposed to be, not manufacturing the outside. We're funding it on the inside. And the clearinghouse will be any deal that a student athlete gets outside of the cap, outside of internally, would have to go through the clearinghouse and get okayed or not okayed. So that's as condensed as I can tell you. It's right now, you hear the wild, wild west. It's even worse than you probably thought. It's crazy. The portal, all the time, the amount of money that the market has risen to because everybody knew this was going to be changing after July 1.
Okay, all right. So pressure on you and the entire administration, the coaches, to be able to deliver for these student athletes. Speaking of pressure, we know what March Madness is like and how, hey, when March comes around, let's go. We want good games. It is pure entertainment, but take us through as far as you and your staff and just what that is like, putting on a month like you guys put on here. And we know it starts with student athletes, but just, it's show business. It's big time business here.
Well, we're blessed to have a great staff, some of whom are here to put on both the men's and women's championships. I think in the month of March, Division I only, we had 196 games, men's, women's, NCAA tournament, the NIT, WBIT.
Wow.
So a lot of coordination, a lot of organization. Yeah. It goes all year round, really. We work on it all year round. And first and foremost it's the teams, making sure that the teams have the kind of experience that we expect them to have. And so that's really our standard always, is how is this going to impact the players, the coaches, and then, of course, the fans and viewers as well. We have many partners, CBS and TNT Sports on the men's side, ESPN on the women's side, and there's an awful lot of coordination. We work with our committee, of course, that selects seeds and brackets the field, and then our host institutions, of which IU has been one in the women's tournament, and certainly IUPUI for the men's Final Four here. We couldn't do it without our host institutions and conferences, because our staff is not real big. But we have 14 different sites that are put on the men's tournament every year. Many more than that on the women's side, because those early rounds are hosted on campus at 16 different sites. And there's a lot of pressure that goes with it, but it's a privilege too to have a chance to work on March Madness. It's something that we all cherish so much, and to be a small part of it has been really a joy, for over a decade for myself. We talking upstairs a little bit. I mean, what we lose sleep over are the kind of things that you worry about in any kind of large-scale event. And I know Scott does probably every Saturday with hosting college football games, is the safety and security of those that are involved. And one of our key guys is an IU guy named L.J. Wright, some of you may know, who's been at the NCAA for a long time, former manager for Coach Knight. He's really central to making sure that the safety and security of all of our fans, teams, and partners is first and foremost in our planning.
Teamwork indeed for these big events. want to go back to NIL, and Pat, I want to ask you with the NAIA, what's the difference? Do you take us through that for as NIL and just what it means for your division and just for your league? Is there how much is it impacting the NAIA?
It's actually trickled down, but the numbers are really small. We have a few schools in our conference that are doing it, and like I had a kid call my assistant, want to come play for us, and one of our rivals offered him $20,000. So he'd come play for us for 20, and I wished him luck. And so I am not messing with it yet, but I did have a donor give me a check for $100,000 a month ago, and I have it in an NIL fund, but I really haven't had to use it yet, but it's coming. But what's really affected us is from the Division I schools. I just lost a kid 2 days ago to a Big Sky school for $65,000. And he wanted to go back to Division I, which is fine. And so we took I've kind of talked to my AD, president, I want to be like the G League. I'll get you paid, but it's not going to be for me. And so come play well for me for 1 or 2 years. I'll get you to the Division I level. And I actually did help this kid that went a couple of days ago. But I have 2 Division I transfers coming to play for me next year. And part of the deal was, hey, I'll get your confidence back and we'll get you getting paid again. But it is starting to trickle down, but the numbers are far more smaller. Everyone talks about the going rate. I'd say the going rate NAIA is 20 to 30,000, but I have not touched it yet.
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, you talk about the transfer portal, and that is, you talk about Wild Wild West. I mean, it's been crazy. How do you handle that?
Yeah, it's been crazy, but it actually, if it could just be tweaked a little bit, we can handle it. The challenges now are that there's just so many windows of opportunity when student athletes can leave. And it's not in the best interest of them academically if they're just moving around so much. Pat and I talked about it earlier. If you go to 4 schools in 4 years, it's just challenging academically. So if there's just ways that we can manage that, tighten that window up, I think it can be a good thing if it's managed. It's just out of control. And then when you couple that with the NIL madness right now, which is pay for play for this short term coming up, those two things in conjunction made it just so much worse. If it weren't for NIL, the transfer issue wouldn't be as bad. But candidly, we've been able to take advantage of that in a lot of ways. Again, the football season we had last year with Coach Sig, I don't want to talk on both sides of my mouth because we were able to bring in, he basically our whole roster was transformed.
That's right. Yeah.
And so you kind of, I don't want to sit up here and say how bad it is when we just enjoyed the best season in our history because of that.
Yeah, right. I got you.
But we have to control it because academically it's just not smart. The mid-year transfers are a big challenge. We have high school student athletes, particularly football, leaving high school a semester early and coming to college mid-year so they can start their careers. And just not sure that's the best thing for them long term.
I got you. I understand that. We had Stephanie up here earlier in the pro panel, and we talked about Caitlin Clark, and I want to ask you about women's college basketball because we know the incredible viewership with Caitlin last year, then this year, big numbers as well. How great has it been for you and your team just to be able to look back and observe and just how much people really appreciate the game, and they're proving it by viewership, sold out venues, and things like that?
Yeah, it's been a joy to watch and see develop just in the last few years. Of course, as Stephanie said, it's been a decades-long effort maybe to get to where we are today with women's college basketball and the WNBA. ESPN, I think, has a lot to do with that in helping to grow the game, and certainly the coaches who have developed these young women. But clearly, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, it's the personalities and the talent of some of these young women that have made it's so much more popular. And I also think that for the women's game in college, there's a benefit to the WNBA draft rules that women stay in college longer, right? Because you can't leave like you can in the men's game after just a single year. So, you have players that are not just talented, but they develop personality, with NIL now, Paige Beckers, who was the #1 pick in the WNBA draft this year, huge personality. I mean, you could make a case that she was the most well-known college basketball player, period, men or women, because of the fact she was at UConn for 4 years, had big deals with corporate sponsors, and so I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing women's college basketball get so much more attention and grow the way it is, because I think fans are getting to know the players longer and the personalities are developing.
Pat, I want to ask you about your father, and being from Indiana, watching the Hoosiers play, we know the impact your dad had on the program, just college basketball overall. I want to ask you about just the impact he had on you and just guiding your roadmap to coaching and just being around basketball in general.
He was really, it's kind of interesting. He was really hands-off, as a kid. I was able to play all sports, baseball, basketball, soccer, and he really wanted me to play baseball. That was always his first love, and I've actually talked to people in Orrville, Ohio. He always thought he could make it to the major leagues, and I kind of thought he was full of shit, but I talked to some of the people in Orrville, and actually some of them believed, at least get up to maybe AAA. And so I remember him really pushing the baseball on me, but the problem was I went from 5'9" to 6'6" in one summer. And so that kind of changed the route I went, and then in one summer. And so that kind of, soccer was done. I tried baseball a little bit longer, but I was getting invited to all-star camps, and then AAU started. And so when I had to go tell him, I wanted to play basketball instead of baseball, it kind of hurt him. I really think he did not want me to go the basketball direction. But then when I decided to, it was his way or the highway. And it was, and not a lot of people know this, but actually Dan Dockage was put in charge of me. So, all right. So, your Bob Knight's one of his top assistants, doing all the stuff for him, and on the side, you're in charge of his teenage son. So, Dan had to work me out every day from my junior and senior year. Every day we played one-on-one, or he rebounded for me on top of all his duties. And I'm telling almost every day except they were on a away game. Through the summer and everything. And so, but it enabled me to actually become a college basketball player. I actually committed to Creighton my senior year. Yeah. And, but some things, and my dad kind of had some other suggestions, but we won't go into that. And then actually, after college, I was a scout for the Phoenix Suns and kind of a gopher for Dick Van Arsdale, one of the great, high school Indiana basketball players. And my dad did not want me to go into coaching. And just being away from it for a year, the competition, the Van Arsdales actually helped me get in the CBA, which is our G League now, and that's where I started my coaching. And then when I proved to my dad, being in the minor leagues for a couple of years, he was like, all right, you're serious. And he had a position open up, and I came back to Indiana. So that's how it started. And then, of course, just being able to work with him. And the neat thing with him was, it was like being behind the curtains of the Wizard of Oz, because a lot of his madness is planned, and which is wild. And now some of it's not. Some of, he does have a temper, so some of it was legit. But it was amazing, the good cop, bad cop stuff. And I'd actually call some of our teammates like Calbert or Brian Evans, be like, hey, you remember when such happened? He planned that. I was like, we just did this at Texas Tech. And so it was kind of interesting just kind of find all the buttons he would push. And so I use the same things now. Offense, defense is pretty much the same. And so everything basketball-wise, I have to say I've gotten from him. But then I'm spoiled just growing up with Dan's dad was big, influenced me going to prep school. He gave my dad a list of, I think it was 8 or 9 prep schools where I should go. And so I was fortunate not just my dad's influence, all the great coaches that would stay at our house. I'd wake up, have breakfast with Al McGuire, even media people, Billy Packer. You just never knew who was going to be at the house. And so his influence, 100% my whole life.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's great. A couple more questions and we'll wrap things up. Officiating. Tell the folks here a little bit about how you guys support officials, even, in game situations as well. And I know you're always, you see everything. You sit literally right next to the head coach for Leeds basketball games. And so you know everything's going on. You're watching these games. But tell us how you support these officials as well.
Yeah, well, I need to thank Bo, because there was a game when he was officiating and I was sitting there. I became AD, and I was a basketball manager. I don't think anybody ever notices who I am. And I remember I was sitting at a game, and you probably don't remember this, Bo, but there was a particular call, and I kind of put my hands up, and I was really making some gestures, and he came over at halftime, and he said, Scott, you don't need to do that, because I'll tell you, it's going to be a bad thing some point if you do that with it. But I appreciate you saying that, because the AD cannot get a technical. That would be a bad thing.
Yeah, that would be bad.
That would be bad.
But AD got a technical.
That would have been bad. I always remembered that, because you sit there, you forget you're right there. You have to just be stoic. But anyway, yeah, we've got, the officials are so important, and it's back to what Dan said earlier about just the safety and security of everyone. Well, that includes the officials. And you would be surprised how much time and effort we put into making certain the officials are taken care of. I mean, it's a huge part of what we do. Everything from the time they get there, we've got someone assigned to them to make certain they have everything they need back in their locker room, to making certain that obviously during the game, coming onto the court, coming off at halftime, just all the protections that they need.
Security with them when they're
Security all the time, and kind of eyes on them all the time to make certain that they have a positive experience. And we've been really, really fortunate, and we get to know the officials as they come in, and it's really, really, they're just great people, and it's been a great thing for us to get to know them as they've come through.
That's great. Postseason, we know that's a goal for all these officials to get a chance to work in the Final Four. I know Bo's done a lot of those when he was officiating. How do you get selected for that? That's one question. The back end of that, I want to ask you, why does it take 40 minutes to review a play? I mean, no, seriously,
Good question.
we
question.
joke, but explain to us why it takes so much time.
Sure.
To something we make it be done in, we think in a minute or whatever. Because at the end of the day, I know you want to get it right, but take us through those.
Yeah, I'll answer that next. But in terms of the process, we have the former national coordinator officials here, J.D. Collins, who did a phenomenal job in that regard.
J.D.
Dear friend, and people ask me sometimes, who do you root for? I root for the referees. In March, I always root for the three guys that are on the court in the standby. Mm-hmm. They're an integral part of the tournament. There's no question about it. There's just, having quality officiating is so critical to having a good national championship experience for the teams. And so we work really hard at it, and RQ is a big part of that process for all of our championships. There's minimum standards that officials have to qualify in order to be able to be considered to work in an NCAA championship. You have to go through a background check. You have to take a test in advance of the season through RQ. You have to attend a regional officiating clinic, and then there are videos that you have to look at each week that are part of the kind of ongoing education that officials receive. And they take their jobs very seriously. It's very competitive to work in an NCAA championship. There's probably about 800 officials that work in Division I college basketball, and 109 are selected to work in the men's basketball championship. 109. And then only 40 of them advance on to the regional round, and then only 11 get chosen to work in the Final Four. And it's the same for the women, of course, as well. So it tells you how competitive it is, how good you have to be as an official to be able to advance. And it is advancing. It's like the teams. They get evaluated every single game and with their call accuracy, their game management, all the mechanics of their craft as well. And it's on that evaluation that they're determined as to whether or not they'll move on to the next round and ultimately maybe have a chance to work in the Final Four or national championship game. So critically important to the success of the basketball championships and all NCAA championships, of which there are now 91. And so we couldn't be more appreciative of the work of Bo and his team and our coordinators, conference coordinators as well. It's just a huge part of sports, and college sports in particular. And so to have this organization be here in Indianapolis where we're headquartered is just a real blessing for us.
Yeah. And then the follow-up question.
Yeah, so the end of games, it's a very good question. We are, the rules committee is going to meet here in a couple of weeks for men's and women's basketball. And I think they're going to take a very serious consideration and look at potentially adding a coach's challenge. Right now, because of our playing rules, officials have the opportunity to go and review plays at the end of a game, especially out-of-bounds plays. And what's manifested itself in it, and I don't think it was ever intended to be this way, is that it elongates the end of games. Tournament games this year were 5 minutes longer than they were just the last couple of years. And many of that is because officials will go because they can, at the end of a game, to look at out-of-bounds plays. What the NBA and WNBA have done is they've taken that option away from officials, but added a coach's challenge. So at any point, a coach can challenge an out-of-bounds play, but if they are unsuccessful with that challenge, they lose a timeout.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to have to consider doing something like that because it's not good the way games are ending. It's not good for fans. It's not good for players and coaches, I don't think, either. And we're seeing the downstream effect of that. You want to try to get every call right, but we're kind of at a tipping point, I think, in many ways with reviews that we've gone about as far as we can go. And the more reviews you add, the more it just lengthens games and just doesn't add for a great experience for viewers or fans.
Okay. Speaking of officials, we know your father. What did you learn from him, and what's your approach with officials?
Yeah, all right, so he was brutal. And but the respect was unbelievable. Like, everybody's seen the movie Bull Durham? Remember the scene where there's only one word you can say to get thrown out, starts with a C, ends with an R? That's the only word my dad could use to get a technical. There was so much respect. He'd been in the game so long. He would dog cuss these guys, but that's the one word that would get him a technical. And that was the respect. But he would take some things personal. I mean, he'd remember a game from 3 years ago and still be upset with the guy. and I always felt bad for him, and so. But his whole deal was he wanted to win. He wanted to make sure everything was fair. But those guys would, come over, shake hands before a game. He'd tell a guy off right then. I mean, we haven't even started the game. And so from my standpoint, and I haven't won anything, I took a whole different approach. And you can ask Bo, the guys, every time I've coached, my whole deal is if I get on you, just tell me why you called it, and I'm done. I mean, Coach will hold, not just for the game, he'll hold that on for like 3 or 4 years. So I kind of changed the way I handle it. But then it was kind of interesting so I get in the scouting part of it, and we're talking about this up there. I was always on the same flights because we travel as much as the referees. We're seeing 3 or 5 games a week, and so we're always on the early flights. And I'd sit with those guys, and I'd actually apologize for my dad at times to some of them. And it was amazing. They were like, the respect they had for him. And there were some, especially, I'm not going to mention it, one guy just got dog cussed in the handshake when he'd come in before the game. And I always felt bad for him. And he said it actually made him a better referee because Coach kept them on their toes and knew that he just wanted them to do the best job they could. And then when my dad passed, I must have heard from a dozen officials. So it's kind of, and then when he got my dad off the court, the respect, he'd run into some of those guys in the training room after the game. So there was actually a mutual respect there, but I was really surprised how much of a respect there was from the referees, because if I was a referee and went through that, I don't know if I could have had that, because he was tough on them. Yeah. But it was kind of interesting when I was doing the scouting, running into those guys and the stories they had. And I mean, some of them had every reason not to really like my dad, and the respect was enormous. And so it kind of gave me a different perspective. But my situation with referees is totally opposite. Yeah. I mean, I did get thrown out one game this year, but and Bo waited a couple days to call me to find out what happened. But it was more of a motivational deal for my team. So, but I have to admit, Coach was hard on them, but I really respect how respectful the referees were. But the great thing was they'd come to me when I was his assistant, and try to explain to me, and I'd be on the bench trying to explain to my dad. And so I was actually to calm him down a few times. But I've just never, but I guess that's what made him great. So, that's what I got to say about for you, sorry. I apologize for him again, for some of you out there that had to deal with it.
All right. Well, wasn't this great stuff, everybody? Thank you. Hey, can't thank you guys enough. Scotty, Dan, Pat, thank you. Come on, big round of applause, everybody. Thank you, guys. We're all good. Thank you so much. One more time, a thank you to our panel sponsor, the NCAA. Thank you, NCAA, for sponsoring that. Want to remind everybody once again, the sign auction is still open, so check that out. We're going to take about a 13-minute break, and then we'll come back for the flag football panel, all right? One question. We all having a good time? Has this been good? All right. Want to make sure you guys enjoy yourself. All right. 13-minute break, and then we'll wrap things up with our last panel. Just a reminder, we're going to get things going in about 3 minutes. 3 minutes away from starting our final panel, flag football. So about 3 minutes away, everybody.
What you expect a desperate man to do? Cain and Abel lit the flame. We can never go that way again. Everywhere I turn, here we are. So walk away with me. Show you that I will go anywhere, anytime. I would do anything, anyway. I will go anywhere, anytime. And I would do
All right, everybody, make your way to your seats, please. Our final panel session. So make your way to your seats. All right, well, thank you. Hey, before we start the flag football panel, we want to give a round of applause and a big thank you to Weather Guard as the flag football panel sponsor, everybody. Let's show them some love. A little information about the Weather Guard Roofing and Restoration has been providing homeowners and businesses with reliable and high-quality roofing services across the southeastern and Midwest states for over 15 years. WeatherGuard is committed to quality and transparency and affordability and provides honest roofing solutions that stand the test of time. Their high-quality, weather-resistant roofing systems are designed to protect homes and businesses from snow accumulation, hail, and wind damage. Thank you once again to WeatherGuard for supporting the RQ Foundation. So thank you, WeatherGuard. Okay, everybody, get everybody's attention here. If you can, help me out here. We all can take a look at the video board for our next panelists here in the flag football panelists.
Please welcome to the stage our panelists for the flag football panel. Brought to you by WeatherGuard. First, Izell Reese. Following a playing career that featured stints with 3 NFL teams, Izell Reese turned his passion for youth sports and engagement into the founding of RCX Sports in 2019. Guided by a mission to create accessible, inclusive sports programs for all children, Reese has led RCX Sports into affiliations with the NFL, NBA, WNBA, NHL, MLS, and the United States Tennis Association to impact more than 2 million kids nationwide to date. Most recently, RCX Sports has catalyzed the exploding interest in flag football through the Females in Flag initiative, prompting many colleges and high schools to add flag football, as well as the sports inclusion in the 2028 Summer Olympic Games. Next, Felicia Martin. Throughout her professional career, Felicia Martin has worked tirelessly to champion opportunities for collegiate student athletes. As NCAA Senior Vice President of Inclusion, Education, and Community Engagement, Martin leads all national office inclusion operations and leadership initiatives, and serves as an ambassador for diversity and inclusion to member organizations. Prior to her current role, Martin served as Vice President of the NCAA Eligibility Center for 4 years and as a Senior Associate Director of Athletics at Texas Tech. Martin is also a long-standing member of the National Association of Academic and Student Athlete Development Professionals, Women Leaders in College Sports, and the Minority Opportunities Athletic Association.
Come on, everybody, big round of applause here as we get ready for flag football panel. So, if you watch the NFL, you cannot watch the NFL without knowing anything about flag football because it is everywhere. And I want you to share the story about at the airport today as well about folks talking to you about what you had on. How did we get here? Take us through the flag football and just how huge it is right now in our country and in the world as well.
Yeah. Skyrocketing is an understatement. Flag is exploding right now. I think female participation in the sport, which is amazing. LA 28, it's a college sport. The 15th state just sanctioned for girls to be able to play in high school. We oversee NFL flag. We just hit 800,000 kids playing nationwide.
Hold on. How many?
800,000.
800,000. Wow.
Yeah, and so it doesn't hurt, to your point, the NFL and having that, of all sports, having the NFL behind you and just supporting the growth of the game and using their complete marketing horsepower to do that. And so it's definitely led to the exposure and just shed a lot of light on what flag football and what's happening in the sport.
Yeah, and share the story real quick about you at the airport and you had your, was it the airport I think you said, right?
Yeah, it was the airport this morning. So I was flying in this morning and I had on a little hoodie and it had NFL flag on my sleeve. And the young man driving the car, he was like, "Oh, NFL flag football." And then we get inside the car, and he said, "I coach NFL flag. My son plays. He's 10." And so the whole ride, he's just telling me the story, and I just told him keep coaching. He was like, "Well, who are you?" And I was like, "Well, I got a little bit of involvement with flag. I was a coach too, so I kind of."
I love it. And just far as the collegiate level, just look where we are now with this.
I know it's been amazing, but before we go into the collegiate level, I do want to say between Isaiah's department, company, and my department, we wouldn't be where we are without a ton of stakeholders and other thought leaders and partners throughout this process. A part of the NCAA even getting where we are was about the data and the research and the experience that RCX Sports and others already had with regard to us exposing our membership to women's flag in some tremendous ways. I think we also have a colleague and partner with Rec Sports who would want us to remind everybody that for recreational sports, flag football isn't a new thing. It is skyrocketing for many industries in many areas, but not with rec sports. They've had really healthy, vibrant programs and championships for many years. And so for the NCAA, this opportunity for our member schools to get better exposed, have the information, having a tremendous resource like RCX Sports has been amazing.
Why has it taken off so much? Take us through that. Like, what's behind it?
Yeah, well, flag football has been around. I know the NFL got involved with the early 90s, and I think these last few years, I think is when you start to see the legitimacy of the sport and everything that's happening. And I think a lot of it had to do with, when I think about the female side of it, that was something that the NFL really wanted to see. I know when we got involved in 2019, they said, hey, we need you to make this a priority within NFL flag to give more females the opportunity. So I'm spinning my wheels on how in the world are we going to get more girls to play football, right, of all sports. And so the light bulb moment came a couple years ago, and where we are today now with looking at it as a collegiate sport. And I said, I think we can make this a collegiate sport. And reason being, it was a handful of states, Florida being the one that started 20 plus years ago. They sanctioned the sport at the high school level. I saw that. I saw the young girls that were playing, 10 to 12 to 13 years of age. And I saw passion in the sport, the same kind of passion I had when I played tackle. And but they had no path. And I said, I think we could have a shot if we create a path, if we open that door up and give these young ladies a chance. Again, it was a handful of states, 2 to 3, that has sanctioned. And so the minute that happened, it exploded. We now, as of last week, the state of Washington just became the 15th state to sanction the sport.
That's great. That's great. And so you see that, the 15th state to make that happen in transition. As far as from the NCAA perspective, how do we get to this point?
Well,
especially with women involved as well. Yeah.
Women, the accessibility for it, the opportunity for campuses to adopt it on their campuses without a lot of equipment. There's already fields for it. I think we got here because there is something to be said also about the number of women who are playing girls and women's flag football that didn't belong to another sport. This is the first organized sport that they've been a part of. So there's a fire for it. And then earlier in the panels, there's been conversation about women in sport and the fire and the skyrocketing, not just of women's basketball, but volleyball and women's wrestling. And so flag football is right there with it as far as there being not just a pipeline for the talent, but people are really excited about something new and something that they can engage in. Mm-hmm.
What are some of the challenges, though? Give me 2 or 3 challenges, let you both weigh in on this, that for the women's sports as far as when it comes to women's flag football.
Yeah, as specific to flag football, I would say, again, we're talking about the skyrocket growth. And therein lies the challenge. When you're growing a sport, I think coaching, development, there's a lot of young women that are wanting to play in more high schools, just like Washington I just mentioned is sanctioning. So the first thing is say, okay, who's going to coach? So finding coaches, and it goes without saying, you can't have a game without officials. And so if I had to say what keeps me up at night as fast as this sport is growing, it's officiating at all levels. So high school, collegiate, even at the youth level. I mean, I'm excited that there's so many kids playing NFL flag, but we too have that challenge now of officiating and recruiting. So it's not so much retention because the sport is so new. It's like you got to recruit them in to officiate. So I would definitely see that one as a high point as well, given the growth.
It's no surprise. I don't know if anybody's been watching the news. There's a lot going on with the NCAA right now. Just understatement of the year. Yeah, just a little bit. Even the panel before us alluded to that.
Yeah.
And so because there's so much going on with our member schools and for our member schools, adding a sport isn't a light decision that can be made. Even one that is as amazing as women's flag football and as what we think is accessible and user-friendly, there still needs to be decision-making that happens on the campus and the conference level because you got to think about sustainability. You have to think about feasibility. We get questions all the time about the rules and officials and coaches. And so I would say one of the challenges right now is all of the decisions that are happening at NCAA schools and then the consideration of adding a sport.
So I saw 2028, the Olympics. There's going to be flag football in the Olympics. How about that? How cool is that? What I mean, that's amazing. What has that announcement in itself done for flag football?
I think what it's done for football, I'll start there. I think, as you know, and everybody knows, what you've seen in basketball and other sports, where they are soccer, they're truly global. You can't really say that in football until now. And I think NFL and football as a whole, it now has this sport to grow the game globally. And not only grow it globally, but both men and women getting in the sport. That's the first time you've ever seen that in football, where they are both announced at the same time with the Olympics. And with it being in LA and being on U.S. soil, I think it's going to be amazing. I think the competition is going to be phenomenal. And it just it checked that box of legitimacy for the sport. When you become an Olympic sport and you can represent your country, that's a huge statement. And so I think it definitely does and puts football on the map. In this case, flag football as a global sport.
Just how big that is, just for the sport, to know that you got the
Olympics. The marketing is amazing. So you have people that saw it, added as an Olympic sport, and then we got calls, we got emails saying, is this credible? Is this real? What does this look like for us? Which also helped with some of our other processes around emerging sport. And so for us, it is also I hate to say it this way, but it's the punctuation of we need an actual player pipeline. So you've got almost 500,000 6 to 17-year-olds playing flag. We just talked about the number of collegiate spaces as far as NAIA, community college, and now NCAA. And so now they can see themselves going not just from my community or church league, also to college, and now the opportunity to represent the country globally. It's amazing.
When you hear that flag football for women is an emerging sport, explain to everybody here, what does that mean?
So I'm so happy you didn't add the other part that was in the note in plain language. They underscored that. I guess they thought I was going to do some NCAA speak if I did more. But I would say that the emerging sport program for women is about creating and encouraging opportunities for women to have sport participation. Point blank, period. And so much like everything else with our NCAA structure is our membership. That is the committee that shows us that they have an interest in it. It's an application that is put together by an organization like RCX Sports or USA Football that goes to a committee, that committee for women's athletics, who reviews that and makes a recommendation across the divisions. So we're in that process now. Our membership, again, shows interest, reviews the application, and votes on whether it becomes the next emerging sport. We are optimistic that by the Olympics, there'll be some announcements around that too.
So you're hoping by that time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And if that does happen, or let's say when that happens, what would that do? what type of doors is it open, and just how big can it really be?
That table right there Our championship staff takes it from my staff to actually, at that point, it might be the 92nd, 93rd championship. And so that is the opportunity to be an NCAA championship sport. So you become much like what you see with softball and volleyball. There's just these amazing opportunities for scholarship and opportunity.
Can I chime in on where it is right now? So thanks to, the momentum of what we're seeing at the college level, NAI is going to championship status next year. So already. They're 4 years in. NJCAA.
Yeah, y'all can clap. That's great. That's awesome. That's awesome, man. So they're already in. Wow.
Yeah, they're already in. NJCAA, they're participating as well, which is great. Great feeder, more opportunities to feed into colleges and universities and four-year institutions through both associations. So it's great. And so we're sitting now. We keep our counter going. So we're 60-plus colleges and universities that now offer the sport. And I do want to give a shout out to Alabama State University, the first Division I and HBCU to offer flag football.
That's great. That's awesome. That's good. That's good. So tell us about just the type of athletes we're seeing when it comes to flag football. Because I know ESPN, they did a great job. You know, we're talking about this, how they, it was women's flag football, and they did a huge broadcast of the game. And I got to tell you, I mean, I can see why people watch the game. It was very intriguing. You learned, and it was awesome to see on TV. Yeah. What kind of athletes are we talking about?
You're talking about five-star athletes. I mean, these are competitive athletes. Some of them coming from other sports, but what I would say is, now that that opportunity is there, men and women, now that that opportunity is there, I mean, you first look at a sport, a rec sport, or what flag was before, and it was fun, right? But it's still a sport, and at some point that fun turns into passion, and you're playing a sport, and it gets very competitive, and especially when there are opportunities there. So now that we're here, we're talking about the Olympics, college, high school, and that opportunity to compete in the sport of football, and you just have phenomenal athletes, men and women, playing this game. You got NFL players that are vying and hoping they get an opportunity to represent the Olympics. I mean, that's a dream come true for a football player. It's like the dream team in basketball. When you saw that, he's like, man, wish we get that opportunity one day. So it's here now. And so the NFL got some tough decisions to make. And during the Super Bowl also, Goodell let it out and with the PR about pro flag being a real thing. So, I mean, I think the sky's the limit in terms of just the momentum and where this sport is going and what you're going to continue to see. It's not going to stop at this point. It's here to stay.
Yeah. And Felicia, I know you get a chance. You're at campuses at times. You're dealing with, people that's in athletics. And what has been the vibe? I mean, what are you hearing about flag football and just, when you're going to these different campuses and when you're at the championships as well?
It's excitement. It's curiosity. It's, again, okay, how do we make this an actual thing for our conference or for our school? The young women who come up and ask questions about those opportunities, that's the most encouraging and inspiring thing, is they're like, okay, this can really be something for me. One of my favorite stories about women's flag had to do with a young woman who had 4 brothers and felt like this was an opportunity for she and her dad to bond in a really unique way. And I understand that he's looking into coaching now because he wants to be a part of that. So we're seeing amazing opportunities that are presented, not just for the young woman, but for their family and community. That's what I've liked about the RCX Sports model, is it can be incredibly community-based, but it's grown these other opportunities for young women to compete and play and be athletes in ways that they didn't think they were. And a special shout out to all the girl dads in the audience. We love you. It makes a difference.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
That's great. You talked a little bit about just officiating, and you got to have officials. Like you said, we know you got the participants, but you're ready to put on these games as well. What are you doing to help, push folks to, encourage them to get involved with officiating so we can, provide for all these athletes that want to participate in flag football?
Yeah, the rec level, I mean, a lot of times it's a mom and a dad sometimes that's learning the game and it's getting out there and officiating a lot of times, like the coaches, and that's great to see. But again, as the sport is growing, we all saw it as a chance. This is a unique opportunity. It's not it's rare that in this day and time you see a sport that's growing at every level like it is. I mean, every other sport already existed at every other level, right? So we've taken the lead to bring everybody together. And how can we do something different across all three collegiate associations, working with also National Federation of High Schools and NERSA. Flag football is a top 5 sport in intramural. It's big at the college level in that regard, and then you have all these youth playing. So how do we bring this whole community together? So we're trying to do our part, and that's where Bo and I met in RQ Plus. And by the way, I got to send a shout out, Go Blazers. We both found out we're UAB alum. So we were able to make that tie-in, sports, small circle. But just trying to bring this group together and saying, what if we all did something together and not only recruited and build retention, but also build a pipeline through officiating. Because there are high school kids, there are NERSA students that are officiating the NFL flag at the youth level that aspire to officiate at the collegiate level, that aspire to officiate for high schools. And so how can we, take that and bring that community together all in one? And so I think what we're doing, and then to have the kind of tech and vision that RQ Plus has and what they're doing. So we're trying to figure out how do we work together and how do we pull Bo and RQ Plus down to the youth level to bridge this gap together through technology and innovation.
That's great. Felicia, I want to ask you, so what's next? Like, how do we, what's the next steps here for eventually getting to where you would like to see it to be one day?
Well, for those in the room who are definitely looking at women's flag officiating, get in touch with the right people because we need you, so that pipeline is really important. But as far as the member schools are concerned, we're in the process now. Like I said, the application has been submitted. The committee has already reviewed and recommended to each division. Listen, we've seen this application. It's strong. The research is there. The health and safety is there.
I think the research is there.
Right, the research is there, right?
Yeah.
And so now each of the 3 divisions are contemplating, reviewing, asking questions, and we'll make a decision in the new year whether women's flag football becomes an NCAA emerging sport. And then from there, it's a process of building, again, those programs and making sure that we've got the required number. We're going to have well over the required number. I don't even want to say the number out loud. And then we go from there.
And what would that mean when that day happens?
What will that mean? How will you celebrate?
I don't know. I'm kind of speechless now. I don't even know what to say to it. But no, it's
incredible.
Yeah. It's incredible. It's incredible. It's phenomenal. I don't know. I mean, being somebody who played the game, who played football, and just seeing women get these opportunities, and you see it happening now, and then to see it happen even more so when that happens, and when it gets to that point, it's a matter of time before you see all these women get an opportunity to get full rides, as they call it, to play at the Division I level and across, to play for championships at the NCAA level, to sign on signing day and post it on social media, and everything that goes with that unbelievable experience. And so never thought we'd be able to see it in football, but here we are. And so I mean, you can see all that coming to happen. And I think it's on a matter of time, but it's going to be an exciting day when that happens.
That's great. All right, we're going to bring Bo up real quick. Bo's got a presentation for us, for you guys here, and this is incredible. Over 800,000? That's unreal. If Bo can make it up here, baseball player at UAB.
Thank you. I'm glad he brought up UAB so I didn't have to. So, one of the things that our company talks about every day is what's next. And for somebody that really doesn't get anxious or have much fear, I did have some concern of what was next. And we weren't magnetized to get involved in high school or get involved in youth sports. We love our partnership with the NCAA. We wanted to be the Rolls Royce, and we wanted to avoid being a vendor for anybody. We wanted to be a partner. And when the flag opportunity came along, and the tie-in with Izell, and just a little bit of UAB Blazer DNA mixed in, we had the confidence to go all in. And part of what we're going to announce now is that in partnership and cooperation with RCX Sports, we are allocating $30,000 to Flag Officiating Initiatives. Okay.
Wow.
So I'm going to work the first ever flag game and pay myself 30 grand. It's really working out well. But we're excited to do this. We want to let people know we're serious through our relationships with the NCAA, the NAIA, NJCAA, which is something exciting for all of us. And certainly with NERSA, we're looking forward to working on what the future looks like. So here's to my $30,000 game fee. Get some pictures. Yeah. Oh, lower. They're saying lower. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. One more time. Big round of applause, everybody. Our flag football panel. Boy, that was awesome. Thank you again to Weather Guard, our panel sponsor as well. And I'm ready to talk about the Olympics 2028. If you need a correspondent to be out there to do some reports, you got me? Okay. Yeah. Wish TV, they'll be okay. I'll do double duty. Do double duty there. All right. Okay, before we get ready to wrap things up, we're going to bring to the stage Barbara Hallam to present the 2025 RQ Plus Employee of the Year. Oh, yeah.
No, it's not me. RQ Plus is utilizing this amazing event to announce its annual Employee of the Year. To be selected for this award, it means this employee has consistently demonstrated outstanding dedication, leadership, and exceptional performance throughout the year. This individual has displayed a commitment to excellence and willingness to go above and beyond. This person must attack challenging projects, offer innovative solutions, and support their colleagues to contribute positively to the RQ Plus team culture and dynamic. Please join me in celebrating this year's recipient of the 2025 RQ Plus Employee of the Year, Sam Glockner.
Thank you. I didn't know if they'd give me a microphone back after singing karaoke last night, so glad to have this. I can't say enough about the team that we have at RQ Plus. Every day coming in is a challenge in the most fun way. It is a true camaraderie and such a great group of individuals that we work with every day, both inside our offices and outside. I know we have a few folks that we work with here from the NCAA, NAIA, ECSR, who have been wonderful to support our team, and we could not be happier. And I'd like to thank all of you for coming out. The work that the foundation is doing towards officiating is incredibly meaningful. It's something that we care about. This company is built by officials. I think it's of our 21, 22 full-time employees, all but 3 of them officiated at some point. So this is something we all are completely dedicated to and care about immensely. So thank you again, and please continue to support the officials. It's something that we always care about.
All right, congratulations. I think we're finished, right? We're done. Is that right? Is there anything else to do? All right. Thank you all for coming. What a great day, right? Great day. Silent auction, is it still going? We're done with that, or? All right. Check and see if you won the silent auction. Your items. Don't leave here without picking up your items and paying for your items. Okay. Email. You'll get if you're the winner, you'll get an email. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Go Pacers tonight. Hey, we'll see y'all back here next year, right? I know you're doing this again next year, right? What a treat. What a day. Take care, everybody. Have a good Sunday.